Namaste, my name is Amish Tripathi and I'm the director of the Nehru Centre, London. Now, some may think of Nehru Centre as just this beautiful, fine building, and it is a fine building, no doubt. We have a wonderful art gallery out here. We have an awesome auditorium on the first floor with a capacity of 100 to 120 people right here in the heart of central London, in Mayfair. But the Nehru Centre is a lot more than this fine building. The Nehru Centre is also an online platform. We are available on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube. And so the Nehru Centre is actually wherever you want it to be. Of course, we'd love for you to come to the physical events that we organize out here when we do organize them. But do join all our online platforms as well. This is a hybrid world. We are going to have offline physical events and online events as well. So do join our online platforms and do keep giving us feedback of what you think of it. We'd love to host you out there. We'd love to hear what you think of our events, and do keep sending in your suggestions as well. We do keep imbibing and learning from the feedback that you give to us to give you programs that you guys might enjoy. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Namaste. Jai Hind. Namaste, my name is Amish Tripathi and I'm the director of the Nehru Centre, as you just saw in the video prior. Now, in my 47 years of life, I've been accused of many things, but nobody as of yet has accused me of being fashionable or fashion conscious. And therefore, I thought this would be particularly brave of me to be in conversation with two souls who understand fashion so deeply, who are who are really at the pinnacle of the trade, and there's so much that I could learn from them. So if we can bring Shantnu and Nikhil up on stage, please. Shantnu, Nikhil, absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure having you guys here. Thank you so much for gracing the Nehru Centre stage.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure and honor to be here. To be speaking to one who has not been accused of being fashionable as yet.
Shantnu, Nikhil, if I may, because we are a Sarkari place at the end of the day, so I have to do the official formalities. I will read out your introduction first, and post that, we'll jump straight into the conversation. So, Shantnu and Nikhil Couture, a narrative that was completed 2 decades in the Indian couture ambit and has transcended preconceived notions of Indian couture. Shantnu and Nikhil as a brand can be best described as contemporary disruptors with an India-proud sentiment. Driven by an anti-trend, an emotion that is deep-seated within the brand, Shantnu and Nikhil Couture challenges the age-old perceptions of luxury to create a renewed outlook of neo-luxury, where the spirit of celebratory India meets a bevy of timeless silhouettes, supreme handcraftsmanship, and contemporary oomph. The brand stands for distinctiveness and encapsulates the splendor and decadence of vintage India while blending it with the excitement and ease of modern India. Our journey, Shantanu and Nikhil's journey, has lent strong iconic signatures to the brand repertoire, being the signature drape creators for Men in India, and have added a sense of liberation to structured Indian ceremonial wear with iconic silhouettes like the drape kurta and the drape bandana. Shantanu and Nikhil, what an absolute pleasure having the two of you guys out here. Let me just jump in straight away. Tell me something about your journey and where and how did you start your fashion design journey?
Wow.
Either of you.
You have time, right, Amish? Because this
We
is
have
going to
time.
take a while.
We're a Sarkari place. Time moves slow here.
समय बहुत है हमारे पास. So पहली बात तो ये है कि बहुत कम लोगों को पता है कि शांतनु और मैं 2 भाई हैं. शांतनु हमारे बड़े भाई हैं, जिनके साथ हमने अपनी ज्यादातर सारी सारी जिंदगी उनके साथ हमने बिताई है. And spending time with him earlier on in during school time, I must say, wasn't the most exciting part of my life because हमारे बड़े भैया जो हैं बहुत ही सीरियस किस्म के इंसान हैं और हम थोड़े बचपन में नटखट से थे. तो
अभी तो बहुत हंस
ये
रहे हैं.
तो जाहिर था कि हाँ, क्योंकि now things have obviously evolved. But back in school, I remember very clearly that I was very naughty in school, and my whole idea of life was to experience it. And Shantanu's whole this entire idea of life was to be it. You know, from a perspective of being a good son, a good student, and ticking in all the right boxes. तो ये तो हमारी बचपन की जर्नी है जो हम लोगों ने शुरू करी. उसके बाद जहाँ तक के भाईचारे की सवाल थी, भाईचारे का सवाल है, वो हमारी असली दोस्ती तब शुरू हुई जब हम लोग स्टेट्स में थे. When I was studying to be a designer and Shantanu was studying to be a business management student. And वहाँ हमने रियलाइज किया कि हमारी जो दोस्ती है वो और जो प्यार है एक दूसरे के लिए, उसकी अहमियत तब हमने रियलाइज की जब हम एक दूसरे से इतनी दूर थे. वो ओहायो में थे और मैं लॉस एंजलिस में था. That's when our real journey of our brotherhood started. So I just wanted to tell our viewers today कि शांतनु और मैं भाई हैं. lot of times ऐसा होता है कि इंडस्ट्री में जब दो लोग मिलते हैं साथ में काम करने के लिए तो कम ही होता है कि दो भाई एक इंडस्ट्री में साथ में हो. That was just a little introduction on us. शांतनु आप बता सकते हैं बाकी चीजें.
Very nice.
No,
Very
yeah.
sentimental, very artistic. Shantanu, sorry, go ahead.
No, so the turning point, I think, Amish, in our lives was when both of us went to the States within a span of 6 months of each other. So, you know, I went there in 1995, but I had gone there with the intention of doing my MBA in finance and marketing, while Nikhil, of course, wanted to go ahead and pursue his master's in fashion. While Nikhil is also saying that he was a naughty kid, he was never a good student also in school, you know. So much like culture, art, history, which is what you excelled in, was something that he almost wanted to stay away from, and he never had them as part of his curriculum or subjects. So all he knew was painting. All he knew was artistic values. All he liked was, you know, his messy clothes being turned into something unique. So he used to wear these rather edgy clothes even to the school, kind of defying the norms that, you know, white cannot be worn.
What about the uniform?
Yes. So his uniform.
वो अच्छी यूनिफॉर्म तो बड़े भैया पहन लेते थे.
Go ahead.
और गंदी यूनिफॉर्म हमें मिल जाती थी.
So गंदी यूनिफॉर्म को अपने आर्टिस्टिक वे में अच्छा करने की सोचते थे, and that's how his passion for fashion sort of crept into his DNA. So he was not also he wasn't a good student, and I was, like he said, was always a student and a studious person. So this is how it kind of transcended us sort of taking separate routes, going to a place that we were very keen on going because we felt that the futures can be made there. And it was only a stepping moment, I feel, when after 3 years of being in Ohio, I went to Los Angeles to just see Nikhil's final graduation project, and that was when he was graduating with being told to show a collection which was inspired by India, and that was his final project. So and I feel, you know, that was the defining moment for me because I saw his collection. He got a standing ovation, and I saw this beautiful amalgamation of India at its exotic best, but silhouettes and shapes that were so modern that it really brought in that beautiful fusion of the Indian ethos culture with obviously marrying a modern sensibility. And that's when I decided that, yes, I may have studied my management, but I think here is a guy who understands fashion a little ahead of his time, though, but definitely has a market in India. And that's when we decided to come back. I decided to come back to India, and I said, okay, let me just figure out a bit of supply chain. Let me understand how I can create some infrastructure for you to come back. And let's start this brand where we could really become the moment of art and commerce that was not existent in 2000. Everything was very art. There was really no commerce or no structure backing art. So I felt that that was a defining moment. That was a moment where we could do something together. And in 2000, we launched our brand, Shantnu Nikhil.
Fascinating. We'll go deeper into that journey, but there's one thing which struck me when you were speaking, and this is one of the things I have seen. India plays a very big part in the way the way your brand's fashion comes out. Mother India is a very big component of it. There's a strong India pride element in what you do. Where does that come from? How does it impact your art? How do you think it impacts how others see you?
You see, as
Nikhil first.
Indians, when you are living in India,
Hmm.
India is very much a part of our DNA constantly. It's multifaceted culture, the amount of festivals, the amount of relatives, and the dinners and the lunches and the Raksha Bandhans. So ये तो constant है India के अंदर. But the real India wakes up when you're not in India. And when I went to Los Angeles to study, that's when I really understood my true Indianness. When I would walk into school and I would be presented as an Indian student to rest of the classroom. And what did I bring with me as an Indian was quite astonishing even for me to see. अब हम पढ़ते अपने हिस्ट्री में कि अकबर ने ये किया और जहांगीर शाहजहां इन सब ने ये किया और हमारे पॉलिटिकल स्टॉलवर्ड्स ने ये सब किया, पर जब आप वहां पहुंचते हो और आप देखते हो कि इंडिया एज अ कंट्री हैज सो मच टू ऑफर कि अमेरिका और यूरोप में वन लाइफ टाइम इज नॉट इनफ फॉर देम टू अपलॉड इट. That applause and also that intrigue really made the India come alive in me and Shantnu. And I would have conversations with Shantnu in the evenings after I come back from college. Is that how amazing it is that people who in the States want to know about our culture, they want to understand where we are coming from, and they have such immense respect for it. So why as Indians we cannot have this kind of respect for ourselves? Why do we feel that we are inferior? Why do we feel that if someone standing on the opposite podium is white skin, is speaking sensible, even without listening to them clearly, why is it that we don't have a matter of opinion if somebody not from our country is speaking? So all these thoughts became really relevant and they resonated and they were constantly in my mind, even when I was creating or doing collections for school. And one thing was that if anything else, we are Indian. There is nothing else to us. And that itself is everything. Because that is how the world also perceives us to be. We are infinite as Indians from the culture that we come from. And I think that was the real point of introspection and where the collections used to come from. And I'll tell you, firstly, there's no doubt that we are proud Indians. I mean, but the beauty of India that we want to carry as a brand into the future generations is something that should be relevant even after many generations see it. And that is the India, I think, which is incredible because it will never die. That culture will never move away. Even though we fear sometimes that westernization is happening, but it will never go away. And that's what prompted us to become what we do, actually. Not to become, but what we do.
I think what also happened, Amish, in 2000, when we launched our brand, we were very clear that there's a very strong opportunity for us to really become the anti-trend of what India is normally perceived to be. So we kind of put a footprint into India, knowing that there are many designers who are constantly only focusing on the traditional side of India. While we felt that there is a stronger storytelling also from our side, which is not necessarily basis the craftsmanship or or the embroideries or the rich textiles, but how do we bring in minimalism, and how do we bring in the drapes and asymmetry of India, and how do we resonate it with the urban India that was sitting in front of us? Although we were a little ahead of our time, but we just felt that that language of India has never been spoken about, that India is also good at, and can be good at shapes, can be good at silhouettes, can be good at looking at India from another perspective. So we started to look at India as a celebration, and one of the biggest moments of celebration for India has been the independence of India in 1947. So we looked at all the nuances of pre 1947 chapters of India, which kind of gave us the celebration, and we just wanted to add a bit of millennial spunk to it. So heritage meeting millennial spunk was something that really inspired us to really go after that India story, and so we are still in love with our Nehruvian era. But we've just brought in a bit of sexiness to it, and I think that's what prompted us to tell our India story a little bit differently from what the world is used to being told.
So, guys, I mean, essentially, from from the answers of the two of you, there are two things that strike me, which I'm paraphrasing what I've understood, from the two of you. The first is that, of course, there is beauty in the apparent chaos of India, but you can only see it if you're willing to look at asymmetry. You're willing to look at it, that beauty emerges, and it is just magic. It blows your mind away.
That's such a
The
beautiful
second
way
thing,
of paraphrasing it, like a true
yeah,
author, Amish. That is amazing, huh? How
Kya
you
baat
brought in the synergy of asymmetry to the chaos of India.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
great.
it is. And if you're willing to see it, that is where the beauty of India is actually.
hai. Yeah,
And
true
the
baat.
second thing which strikes me is it's a unique genius of us Indians that we can hold on deeply to our traditions. We're the oldest surviving culture, the only pre-Bronze Age culture that is still alive. And yet we
Absolutely.
can bring in things of the modern as well. We don't, as an Indian, I'm not forced to choose between. I'll either, as many cultures do, that you either be traditional or you be modern. As an Indian, you can be both, right?
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
that's a beauty you guys bring in your clothes and the people you clothe and the way you present it, and which brings me to my next question, that you have clothed among the biggest celebrities in styled among the biggest celebrities in the world, people such as Serena Williams, Amitabh Bachchan. So if you have to think of like top celebrity, man or woman, you guys would love to design for, who would it be and why? Global.
उफ, ग्लोबल अरे बाबा
Hmm.
ये क्या आपने बहुत ही मुश्किल क्वेश्चन पूछा है
Blue sky thinking.
अमीश
We will
I'll
we
tell
will
you.
tweet this video to that person.
See, the thing is that um, I like dressing people up who are leaders in their field, and I think because every time I've had a conversation with, luckily we've met a few, and whether let's say it's Sachin Tendulkar, who's in the middle of his IPL practice in the stadium, and they're doing fittings with him of his jacket, and while he's wearing the jacket, in the corner of his eye, he's looking at one of his teammates hit a cover drive incorrectly, and the guy who got out hitting that cover drive incorrectly comes back to the pavilion where we're still doing fittings with him on the jacket, and Sachin just told him about his foot movement being incorrect, and that's the reason why he got out. And I did not understand what point during the fittings did he even get the moment to see his foot movement, which was about 200 yards away. So when you meet people with such love for their passion, they are supreme leaders for me in my head. And those are the kind of people I want to dress. And, as a brand, we want to dress because if someone is in such clarity about their existence, can you imagine their decision of wearing a Shantnu Nikhil would mean immense clarity in choosing what they want to wear, which also then resonates very well with the clarity that we want to create clothes with. And I think that energy, that synergy, when it happens between two people, then it is just much more than purchase or much more than just giving something to someone to wear. Then it's a relationship, and we truly believe in those.
Very true, very true.
बट
Yeah,
आपको हम straightforward आंसर नहीं देंगे अमीश, ये तो गारंटी है, because
नहीं, हम देख रहे हैं और हमें पसंद भी आ रहा है. देखिए,
Hmm.
The best journeys are those which are not in a straight line.
Ji. Shantnu can tell you that my journey is never been straight.
But
You
that
guys,
was quite an answer, I must say.
it was. I love it, and it truly encapsulates. I think what anyone who truly loves their art should be an obsession. You know, a
Ji.
search
Yeah,
for
but
excellence, a search for excellence.
it's a hard fact that fashion and glamour go hand in hand. So
Hmm.
fashion has to be worn to create aspiration, and I think
Hmm.
that's where, it's almost like a social responsibility. If you want people to aspire to wear you, then
Hmm.
celebrities, and in India, of course, it's
Hmm.
Bollywood, it's sports, it's cricket, it's everything.
Hmm.
And I think we've been lucky enough to have dressed many of them from both Bollywood and sports. In fact, sports is something that has really given us maximum satisfaction, because Nikhil and I both are sportsmen. If we weren't fashion designers, we probably would have been sportsmen in our lives. So there is,
What's your favorite sport?
so we play a lot of tennis. In fact, swimming. Nikhil is a great golfer. So
Nice.
we've tried cricket. We played cricket. We used to play
Yeah.
cricket almost every Saturday, Sunday when we were kids, having colony matches. We used to have league of our own. With we were living in
अब
South
तो सब
Delhi.
बुड्ढे हो गए शानू कॉलोनी के अंदर हमारे.
So at, so there
नहीं,
is sports
अभी
even in
सीनियर
the
भी हो सकता है.
yeah. So
Sorry,
so
sir.
yeah. So it's been a very fulfilling journey of dressing up sportsmen
Hmm.
across the gamut, actually, be it cricketers or tennis
Hmm.
players. So that's given us satisfaction. Like Nikhil also said, that those sportsmen actually have a heft for what they do. They know exactly why they exist, and I think that's what gives them clarity, and it sort of gives us a purpose as
Yeah.
well as a brand. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's been a fulfilling journey as far as dressing up celebrities is concerned, but which is a part and parcel of who and what we do as designers.
Yep. You guys have done fashion shows in London, in Lithuania, and often in partnership with the Indian High Commissions or the Indian embassies in such locations. So tell us how
Ji.
that worked out, and what are the
You know,
reactions of the audiences there?
yeah. You know, Amish, it's very interesting that there are always, you will find very interesting Indians everywhere in the world, right? And there's this young gentleman called Utsav Kasera who
Hmm.
resides in London,
Hmm.
and he stumbled upon us through a common friend. And once he saw the work that we did, he went out of his way to create an opportunity in Lithuania with the High Commissioner there
Hmm.
to showcase India to that part of the world.
Hmm.
Yeah, actually, we
And
were celebrating India's 70th independence
that's
Yes.
right.
day.
That's
The
right.
17th year of India's independence.
Hmm.
Yeah. And for someone to really go out of their way to do this for India, again, I was telling you about how leaderships have something in common is clarity. I think they're the same way how passionate Indians have one thing in common that वो कहीं भी जाएंगे तो इंडिया के बारे में जरूर बात करेंगे.
Correct.
और ऐसे ही एक जन है उत्सव जिन्होंने हमें एक मौका दिया लिथुआनिया जाके अपना क्राफ्ट दिखाने का. And I was Shantanu and I came back with a great sense of pride, but not arrogance, lot of pride, because India is such a powerful country that you can get arrogant very quickly. We came back with great sense of pride and humility and gratitude, and that gratitude further got fulfilled when he gave us an opportunity to showcase at the Sachi and Sachi Art Gallery,
Hmm.
which again, this was Shantanu, if I'm not mistaken, it was the 150th birthday of Gandhiji, which was being celebrated. And that itself was such a momentous occasion for Indians, all the Indians who were there, and as Indian designers.
Hmm.
Um, and again, every time we come out towards the end, once the show is over, we see a different kind of sense of release in people's emotion. उस पे तो आप definitely किताब लिख ही सकते हो, which could be called the last 9 seconds. And to see the happiness in their eye and to be able to see the visual of India through their eyes is so fulfilling. कि लगता है कि आपने अपना काम कुछ सही कर लिया स्कूल बंक करके.
I think the undercurrent for these 2 or 3 shows that happened celebrating India actually also was because in the last 5 or 6 years we've been really, like I said, we went back into nostalgia. We looked at pre-independence India. We kind of played with certain narratives in our collections, whether they were called Cabinet Mission or the Regiment or Mutiny. Uh, you know, these were all very provocative collections that were not meaning to send the wrong signals, but in fact giving you signals of what India and what state of mind currently India is in. So a very strong usage of military influences and our love for armed forces, our understanding of the crests, the badges, the brooches that sort of came into being was kind of was strong enough for probably to be taken a note of. And I think we through that narrative have also tried to bring in masculinity into our women's wear and a bit of femininity into men's wear. So that's where urban India is heading out. That's where, when you look at this entire cross pollination of where we are heading as a country, there is a lot of masculine feminine energies, and I think we've been able to do that with our collections with a sense of pride, togetherness, and love, while the thematic the theme of the collections was strong and bold. So I think we've been able to do that quite effectively, and I think that's what also triggered these opportunities for us. Like for the Gandhian collection that we did at Saatchi & Saatchi was an all-white collection. It did not have tradition in the forefront, but it brought in that tradition with a very fleeting modernity to it. We used certain fabrics and drapes, and we brought in a bit of military influence there as well, because I think Gandhiji was a very strong advocate of non-violence, but at the same time, there was that aggression in him, which had certain nuances of military to it. The way he approached the.
Yeah, it wasn't passive non-violence.
Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't just roll over and bear it types. No.
Correct. So I think we in
non-violence.
the last 5 or 6 years, we've been able to bring those themes to the fore, really talking about India, or what India meant, and what India is to us now. So that's been the underlying current.
Yeah, fascinating. No, even when you speak of the masculine within the feminine and vice versa, it truly connects to the ancient Indian way of Ardhanareshwar, Lord Shiva, half Lord
Shiva
Shiva,
Shakti.
half Goddess Parvati.
Ji, ji.
Exactly. Shiva Shakti, that's what Ardhanareshwar is. We have that
Ji.
mission for a long time. We saw it in both. Tell me, where do you see, because I mean, one of the things that I look at out here is essentially India's narrative and Indian culture's image in the UK and in the larger West. What role do you see fashion playing for the narrative of India, for the image of India? We are emerging as a far more serious country. Our economy is now bigger than that of the UK. This year, we will, over the next 10 years, projections are we will probably cross Japan and Germany within the next 10 years to be in the top 3. So we are a far more serious country. And our profile is rising commensurate with that. What role do you see fashion playing in how we are perceived in our narrative?
See, fashion is a visual medium, and much like data, which is backed by a lot of years of balance sheets and data history. Fashion needs, and I think what's going to happen eventually is that certain silhouettes will become synonymous with a certain amount of outcome. For example, I feel the Indian kurta will become the epitome of intellectuality or intellectualism or just being intellectual in that sense. मेरी इंग्लिश थोड़ी खराब है, इसलिए मैं बीच में हिंदी और इंग्लिश में बात करता रहूंगा.
नहीं, हमारी आप हिंदी में वार्ता कर रहे हैं, आराम से करिए.
हाँ,
हम काशी के हैं.
So I think the Indian kurta is at that cusp of defining the values of India. There was a time जब I think हमारे पिताजी के समय पे जब हम लोग घर आते थे या शाम को
जी
क्रिकेट खेल के घर आते थे, हमारे पिताजी एक कुर्ता पहन के
जी
सोफे पे बैठते थे, उनकी साथ शाम को चाय आती थी या ड्रिंक आती थी और उनके देवानंद के पुराने गाने चलते थे. So there was that time also. Today the kurta is sitting at a very different platform. It's sitting with a certain amount of astute thinking. It's sitting also with a certain amount of emotion for India, but in a very contemporary format. It is going beyond the ideas of being wearing of it being worn for a Diwali function or for a festivity of Bhai Dooj. It's gone beyond that. And I think so. Tomorrow, if I do see Amish walking the streets of London in a short kurta with slim trousers and his moccasins, or if he's wearing his double monk strap shoes, I know that this man has is arrived in his true existence because he's been able to feel completely at ease in his existence, and at the same time he's standing tall as a universal global citizen. So India is going to reach that global platform, and I feel the short slim kurta is going to be that category that's going to really kill it.
Interesting, fascinating.
Yeah.
Bro, do you have anything to add to this?
No, so just extending to what Nikhil has said is, I think the world after COVID, more so after COVID, is looking at something unique. It's not that fast fashion has been. We've been surrounded by fast fashion for a very long time, and fashion had become boring. What COVID has done is brought in a lot more clarity in design. We're kind of revisiting. Many of the artists would be revisiting their classics and trying to understand how could they reinterpret it in a more unique fashion, which does not take anything away from their aesthetics. I feel India right now has a story or a narrative of looking at minimalism, and how certain Indian textures that are not over the top, but if they are sort of still well versed with certain modern take on shapes and certain silhouettes, I feel India is ready to declare itself that we may not necessarily be the India of colors that you are used to, but we are the India that is known for its decadence, which is known for its extreme tailoring fits. That is something that has never been focused on. India has been focusing on, okay, let's get our embroideries outsourced from India. Let's export a lot of these textiles from India. I don't think that's going to be that's not going to be at the forefront anymore. India is going to be spoken about fits. And I think we've always been a very good tailoring country, and I think that's where it's going to really take the India narrative forward, and I think all of that will be drawn with doses of minimalism, doses of the past of India, which is the pride of India, the Nehru collars that India has been known for. Like, what if Shanghai Tan could do it at a certain point, telling the story of China and what Japan has been able to do with their kimonos. I think India, like Nikhil very well put together, that India is a country of kurtas. But if we can redefine those kurtas and still make it very red carpet uh, savvy, and at the same time for a common man who understands how to wear that silhouette and yet look modern, I think that's the story India is looking to forward to.
Fascinating. Fascinating. And building on this, if there's a new young fashion designer joining the industry within India or joining globally, but from an Indian background, what's the advice you'd give him or her?
भैया हम तो एक ही बात बोलेंगे,
बोलिए.
बिजनेस शुरू करिए, शांतनु को तो अपने पास रख लीजिए, बिकॉज बिना शांतनु के आप बिजनेस तो चला नहीं पाओगे. तो आप अपना शांतनु पहले ढूंढ लीजिए, फिर बिजनेस फिर सोचिएगा कि कपड़े कब काटने हैं.
That is yeah, he's just kidding. I would say the other way around. Business tab chalu hoga when you have the creative maestro sitting there, no? So it has to be both ways. I think for any young, there are so many youngsters that have abundance of talent, But right now, India itself has become such a crowded space for many a designer who are, there are many platforms, but there are also so many of them showcasing. And for them to stand out in a crowd, I feel now is the time to, in fact, become a little bit more, uh, I would say, bold with your way of looking at fashion and what sort of communication is your fashion uh, putting forward, as an artist. So don't be, I would say, don't um, be a risk taker, I feel now, because it's a crowded space. And if you stand a chance to stand out, then so be it. But the moment you know you're standing out, you need to bring in structure to your design. You need to then bring in a corporate strategy to it, so that you don't
देखिए
just
बोल
become
पड़े,
a
देखिए बोल
designer.
पड़े. I
नहीं,
told
So
you ये बोल
only
पड़ेंगे.
ऐसा
बोल
है
पड़े.
कि क्योंकि कैश फ्लो नहीं है तो धंधा नहीं है.
हाँ.
So I've been a banker too. But
Yeah.
इसे कहते हैं सही जुगलबंदी between the two of you. The fact that आप दोनों अपना रोल समझते हैं और एक दूसरे की अहमियत भी समझते हैं. Often partnerships में अगर ये गलती हो जाए कि कोई सोचे कि no, I'm the only one doing it all and the other guy is not important. That's when the business starts collapsing. I think that's very critical.
नहीं नहीं
People
देखिए
have
7 तारीख को.
clarity on their role, but realize the importance of the partner as well.
No, absolutely. On the 7th, if the salary check is not deposited, then तो I look at बड़े भैया and say, please कल तक तो करा दीजिएगा.
भाई तो आप लंदन वापस कब आ रहे हैं? When's your next show in London?
No,
I think अगला साल जो है इंडिया के लिए बहुत, it's a very beautiful year for the Indian cultural part of our relationship with England. So आप कुछ सोचिए, we'll be there.
Yeah, it's also the 75th year of India's independence. I think we're definitely going to have something up our sleeve that will celebrate India in that sense. So next year is actually a great year for us to, in fact, celebrate India. So yeah, so we'll be looking at collections that celebrate India, and we kind of will focus on that.
Wonderful. Looking forward to that collection and looking forward to hopefully hosting you guys in London, seeing you guys here. It would be.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Thank you so much for coming to the Nehru Centre. This has been a fascinating conversation. I must say, I learned so much. Like I said honestly at the beginning, I don't understand fashion so much. Thank you.
And also thank you, Amish, for not only this, but also making India proud with whatever you've done with your Shiva trilogy and your Ram Chandra series. I think what you've done to India, we're not even close to that, but we would love to. At least you've given us a reason to emulate, and if we can even come closer to that, I think our journey would be very fulfilling. So, thank you so much.
I think one thing that's very clear at the end of this event, that from a duo of mutual admiration, now we become a trio of mutual admiration.
इसी बात पे एक किताब लिखी जाए.
लिखी जाए. Absolute pleasure. Thank you guys. Thank you for coming here, and I hope you among the audience, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Do check out their collection, and we hope to host Shantnu Nikhil in London also in some time. Thanks.
Thank you so much.